Oh, Andy's here. Great. We have
Hi,
a full
Linda.
panel.
Excellent. Hey, Andy. How are you? Welcome.
Good.
Hi, Andy.
John. Hey, Haseeb. Tony.
Hey.
Hey,
Thanks for
hey.
joining us.
Everyone.
Doing well, thank
Good.
you.
Yeah. Excited to get this show on the road.
Yeah,
I
I'm
have
excited.
I have the messiest background. I think
That's okay.
You do have the coolest clock, though. That clock is
Yeah.
sick.
It's a very cool plot. Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
look so closely. I'm not sure what I have. I have all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, no proprietary formulas on your whiteboard.
yeah. yeah. Yeah, it's the new algo. Don't steal my layer one secret.
Your investment algorithm.
yeah.
Nice.
That's
So
a sign of a hardworking person, all those books.
okay. Oh, wow. Hello, everybody.
Oh, we got some chats already coming in. Wonderful. Hello, everyone. Germany, Uruguay. Hello from Canada. Argentina.
Turkey,
Turkey,
UK, Chile.
Wow.
Fantastic. Colombia.
Great.
Australia.
Got some
This is
Singapore.
great. Venezuela. Welcome. Atlanta.
Hello.
Americans. Poland. This is
Good morning,
fantastic,
good night,
everyone.
good evening.
Thailand, Chile,
Oh.
Netherlands. Russia, welcome.
Ooh, we got some
Oh, we
Ibiza.
got Ibiza. Yeah.
Are we
Awesome.
gonna crash Zoom?
So what are you doing? What are you doing in Ibiza watching a panel?
Yeah. Listening to
I
some
appreciate that
amazing
you're here,
house.
though.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Oh, welcome, Canada. I represent us. Excellent.
4 a.m. in Greece.
Wow. Thank you for staying up for us.
Yeah.
Make this worth it.
Go
Yeah.
to the moon.
We'll make this
Perfect
worth it.
timing.
Make sure you stay till the end, everybody. I'm just throwing an Easter egg out there. Stay till the end. I have a surprise for you. Excellent. We'll give a couple more minutes for our guests. Meredith, how are we doing with our live stream?
We are live on Facebook. I am still not able to connect to YouTube, unfortunately, but this will be recorded, so it will be uploaded, even if it is shortly after the fact.
All right, excellent. For our YouTube supporters, apologies for the delay. You'll have it up on YouTube as soon as possible.
Cool. Meredith, can you send me the link of the Facebook? So
Yes, I'll send it now.
yeah, great. Because I think I've already directed people to YouTube, and then now if YouTube doesn't work.
Yes, I will do the same if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Perfect. Excellent.
Okay. Awesome.
Welcome everybody that's joining us. If you missed within the last couple of minutes, make sure you stay till the end today. Just a little Easter egg. We're gonna have something special for you at the end. Vancouver, hello, me as well. Excellent. Ireland, welcome. Oh, and you gotta wait. Excellent. Can't wait to introduce our panelists, get this discussion going about our eco fund. This is very exciting.
I can't believe this Zoom meeting is actually starting on time.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
Thanks, Andy.
It's usually not how they go.
Mainly because I'm always late, so I've never been to a Zoom meeting that's actually on time, but this is great.
Wow.
Let it be a sign of good fortune for the eco fund.
That's right.
Yeah, good start.
Good start, exactly. Linda, how much time would you like to give? Do you want to get started?
I think we can get started.
Yeah. Okay, well, why don't I start off by just, greeting all our new members. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our first panel discussion regarding our most recent announcement, the $160 million ecosystem fund for building the new generation of DeFi. I'm John Poole, the community lead in business development for the Oasis Protocol Foundation, and I'm joined today by several of our ecosystem fund partners. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. We'll get to know our panelists in a moment, but first let's hear from our head of ecosystem at Oasis, Linda Liu.
Thank you so much, John. Before I give everyone a quick intro of Oasis Ecosystem Fund, and I just want to say big thank you to the panelists joining us today, and the Haseeb and Tony. I know you guys are super busy, and I want to thank you all for taking the
Wait,
time.
what about Andy? Andy's busy too.
I say Andy. I meant
He was
Andy
the
first.
last
Andy
person
showed up
to
on
join.
time. He's on
Andy,
time, too.
thank you, Andy, personally from me, if Linda doesn't thank you.
Happy.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here, having the conversation with us. That has been, the committee has been so much, looking forward so much to this amazing conversation, and it's going to be a lot of exciting things being discussed here. So thank you so much. Without further ado, let me just do a very quick intro of Oasis Ecosystem Fund. And I just realized I cannot share my screen. Meredith, can you share the screen?
All right, we got a nice presentation for you, everyone.
Yeah, just a little bit. See?
That's more like it. Things shouldn't just be.
Exactly. It's not a Zoom call unless
Yeah,
somebody's
it's
struggling to
something-
share their screen. This is
This
perfect.
is what Andy's
Suddenly I
doing.
feel right at home. This is perfect.
Looks too staged. This is a bit more realistic.
I know, just want to we made a huge announcement about the ecosystem fund, and want to put a little structure into it. So to give everyone like a quick, oh, great.
Excellent.
Picture.
All right.
Fantastic.
Okay,
Fantastic.
Your
great.
family's now famous.
Meredith, I think you can just present. I think that'll be good.
With just the present button.
The
Okay,
top right is present.
There
This
we
is a
go.
lot of pressure. We're like watching
Top-
him work.
Top right. So it's
Next to
right
share.
below. Yeah, it's right.
Yeah.
There you go. Down. There you go. It's right there.
There we go.
Yes, great.
Excellent.
Our
Excellent.
first collaboration.
Sorry
We
about
made
that,
it. We
guys.
made it. It's all good. It's all good. You're killing it.
This is great. This is really amazing. So let's talk about a little bit like always ecosystem. But we made a fairly big announcement, and Meredith, you can skip to the third slide. Thank you. I just want to give people a quick introduction of Oasis Ecosystem Fund. Here's a quick snapshot of the fund. As you guys can see, so what we can share is, and all the partners involved in ecosystem fund have been longtime supporters of Oasis. Some of them have been early backers of Oasis Network, and you're looking at them right now. And some of them are node operators who've been deploying nodes on the Oasis Network from very early on. Since when we were just a test net, and now we're not only we reached the launching mainnet milestone. We're 1 year. We just celebrated the 1 year anniversary of Oasis Network launching mainnet, which happened just last week or so. Yeah, so this is really amazing. So all these people, partners coming together with sharing one vision, that is to bring resources, whether it's funding or human expertise, all these resources to support founders and entrepreneurs to allow them to be successful on the Oasis Network. And we're all pretty much aligned in the sense that at this stage of Oasis Network, we can only be successful if the projects on the network are successful. So that's why we're putting all the resources to help them to flourish, to build amazing applications on the network. So let's talk about those applications that we're focusing on. Next slide, thank you. Yeah, so these basically the application we believe are going to bring the blockchain industry, crypto industry forward to the next level. So you have DeFi, whether that's DeFi 2.0, 3.0, we don't know. But yeah, it's going to be something very exciting. NFT, crypto gaming, metaverse, data DAO, data governance, data tokenization, privacy, dApps in general. So yeah, so here is a very quick summary of Oasis Ecosystem Fund. Without further ado, let's kick off the fund discussion.
Sounds great. Thanks, Linda. I really appreciate that. So let's get into a hot topic, everyone. Let's talk about finance. More specifically, how to bridge traditional finance with DeFi, decentralized finance. Let's have a little fun with this though and break it into a few parts. We'll do 3 parts, and one of you can take the first one. It's going to be on simplicity. So if you had to explain DeFi to your kids in the simplest way while still capturing what the true value of DeFi is, what would you say? Who wants to take this one? We always hear about what would you say to your grandma, but let's hear what you explain to the younger generation.
Maybe I'll start somehow. I'm not muted, so I'll start.
Yeah.
So I have an 11-year-old, and we put. I took him to the bank. You know, he has got a piggy bank, so I took him to a bank to deposit, to open up an account, and I told him the idea of interest. 3 years later, I told him he earned. You know, I think we put in, I forget, something, and then he earned 3 cents of interest, and he's like, oh, that doesn't seem like a lot of money. And so I said, you know, you're right. And he said, then what's the point of putting it in the bank? So it's a slippery slope. As you explain, you realize, even he realizes it's not a good value proposition. So this Christmas, he asked me for a ledger.
That's wonderful.
And specifically, he said, can Santa give me a ledger? And also, he wants to make sure Santa load up some good crypto on the ledger. So that's the. So this kid.
Well, maybe Santa's got some Rose tokens kicking around. You can.
I'll send you. I also bought him a name on Unstoppable. So
that's fantastic.
He's got a easy to remember public address now. So
That is too cute.
11-year-old.
That's fantastic. What a wonderful way to kind of break the ice with the younger generation and teach him about taking back control of his finances and really what the APY is that he should be looking for, instead of giving his money away to traditional finance for them to make money off of it, taking it back for himself and using this new system of DeFi to make money for himself. That's fantastic. Let's get into our second topic on this one. Second part is about challenges. What do you think today's biggest challenges for making DeFi more accessible?
I can take this one.
Fantastic.
So I think the reason why we need to explain DeFi to our grandmothers and to our 11-year-olds is because DeFi, I mean, look, maybe 11-year-olds shouldn't be on DeFi, but that's a separate question. The key challenges today with DeFi, there are a bunch of them, right? So I can just kind of start going down the list.
Mm-hmm.
The first, of course, is that right now it's very difficult to manage private keys, and DeFi generally involves interacting with your own crypto. And so we're starting to develop better and better solutions for this, and figuring out how is it that you can actually create secure affordances for people to interact with DeFi without having one mistake potentially costing them their entire, the entire value that they have in DeFi. The second thing is that, for a lot of the chains that are most popular, like, looking at Ethereum as the kind of, the main example, the fees for DeFi are extremely high. So, for just a very basic transaction, you're paying tens of dollars to just, perform a swap or even a transfer. And for most people around the world, that's punitively higher than even what their bank would charge them for a very basic transaction. And so, although there's a lot of promise in what we've seen in Ethereum, it's very clear that it's no longer at the scale that it can serve normal users, certainly not grandmothers or 11-year-olds, right? Those kinds of people can't afford to pay fees that are as high as what Ethereum is charging them today. And so that's a real barrier is, can we develop platforms that are more scalable and have a way to get DeFi to be accessible to a larger and larger swath of users? And I'd say the third thing is really trying to solve the problem of privacy. So today in DeFi, the reality is that although people have a perception that crypto is private in some way, if I get some Bitcoin or I get some Ether, nobody knows what I'm doing. The reality is that nobody necessarily knows which address is yours, but if they know which address is yours, then they can see everything that you're doing. And this is kind of the inverse of the model that we have with bank accounts, right? In bank accounts, the idea is that one person knows what you're doing, which is the bank, but then nobody else knows what's going on. And in crypto, it's the opposite, which is that everybody else knows what's going on. And because they can all see your transactions, they can see what you're interacting with.
Absolutely. And
especially if they've interacted with you personally, then they know exactly which address is yours and they can see every future transaction that you make. So I think in order for DeFi to go mainstream, it really needs to develop the same kind of security model and the same kind of privacy model that we are used to expecting in financial affairs, which is that when you do something financially, it's nobody's business but your own.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. Risk, fees, and privacy. I mean, we've said it a lot at Oasis that, you know, DeFi is really held back without privacy, and we are hoping to fix these solutions for collateralized loans, using assets that you would never put on chain due to transparency, using these assets to be able to create, you know, digital wealth and digital credit scores and loans that take this new into account. So I couldn't agree more. Risk, I mean, I put the fear of crypto into every single new person that I advocate for blockchain, because I would rather them be careful than get taken advantage of or make a mistake that takes their entire wealth away from them. So couldn't agree more. And fees, I mean, how more in your face is the old thesis model of investing is like an ice cube. The more you touch it, the faster it melts. I mean, this is a perfect example of that on the Ethereum network. You may make $100 thinking you've done an amazing job getting 10% on what you're dealing with, and then you go to make a few trades and that $100 is gone in 2 trades because, you know, the Ethereum network was busy that day and you've lost all your hard work. So it's very hard for mass, you know, as a challenge for mass adoption, leading into my next question, to come into play when we're dealing with these struggles. And my third question, talking about finance, mass adoption, what type of projects do you feel are needed in the crypto space to make adoption more accessible to a greater audience and not only to the current crypto enthusiasts?
Sure.
Maybe you want to take this one? Yeah, Linda, you go ahead.
I can take this one first. And yeah, I'm sure like we'll have a lot of people want to chime in as well. Yeah, so I like to unpack this question a little bit in the sense that we're talking about mainstream adoption, right? So there are your grandma, 11-year-old, 5-year-old people, and then there are like practitioners who have been practicing finance for a while. Like those are the traders, let's say, from the BlackRock of the world. You know, they're from the traditional finance and they want to break into crypto. And think about like these are the, you know, mainstream we're talking about. They're the ones where like two, you know, segments like who are completely just like crypto is kind of new to them, and people who are finance savvy, but due to some constraints in the crypto world, you know, there are just like a lot of things that haven't been made very accessible to them. So let's talk about like, you know, the people who have been practicing finance for a long time from the CeFi of the world. They're the problem I think Haseeb has, you know, alluded to earlier, like, you know, the privacy. Let's talk about like, let's say they finally get over this time, like, you know, I'm okay with all the trades I do is you know, pretty much open to the world, but do I really, since I'm like a sophisticated trader, and then they're just like going to be price slippage with all these MEV problems I have, like I identify a great trading opportunity, but because of this MEV, the miner extractable value thing happening, like miners are taking advantage of me, and I have to pay overcompensate by paying very high gas fees, and then but that doesn't help because other bots, because they see these trades in the mempool, and then they take advantage of me by front running my trades. So what I'm gonna do as a high frequency trader, like that just like not acceptable to me as a sophisticated, you know, trader here. So I think what
very off-putting.
Yeah, I think, yeah, exactly. That experience is so bad for those sophisticated traders out there. And that's why I think a lot of them haven't been, you know, be able to tap into the DeFi world, like be like a trader on Uniswap, SwissSwap, those you know, who is who, you know, like basically in the DEX world. Yeah, so I think those problems, like, you know, can be largely solved, you know, with some sort of confidential compute. Is like, you know, let's say, you know, transparency is not necessarily a problem here, but at least we can help, you know, solve the MEV problem. I do think once we have the MEV problem solved, a lot of those hurdles that preventing the traditional traders from entering the space, you know, can be largely solved. So yeah, so that's the one part of it. And I think talking about the mainstream, the real mainstream, like our parents, you know, our kids, and how can we bring them to the DeFi world? I think there's still like a very big fiat on ramp and fiat off ramp problem that needs to be solved. Like I earn some yields on Uniswap, earn some yields on Avi, on those lending protocols. But where do I go using the tokens I earned? You know, I need to. I think most use cases like, oh, I earned some tokens, great. I'm gonna use that as an investment and use that to invest into other tokens, or someone investing in double down on some of the tokens that I've been investing in, right? Like, but I'm not really using that yields I earned like to, okay, I can use that money to buy groceries today. It's just like not really a typical use case.
Tangible wealth.
Yeah, it's like you have to go through what, like Coinbase to convert that into stablecoin, and further stablecoin to fiat USD, and in other countries, other currencies, right? So it's just like,
and then there's fees,
yeah.
more fees on every time you move it around. Yeah.
Exactly. There's a fiat off-ramp thing. It's just like, it's a huge hurdle for people to actually, they realize those value there, they earn those money, but they're like,
right,
where do I consume? What are the use cases? Can I use the money to buy Starbucks? Can I use this money to buy groceries? Can I use money to travel, pay Airbnb fees and stuff? Like, probably still like quite a bit of a hurdle. I know with a lot of payments companies are trying to work on this fiat off-ramp solutions. So yes, it's going to be something very exciting happening over the next couple of years. Hopefully,
I couldn't agree more. When you start seeing people spend assets and their dividends from tokens that are utility tokens, and people start seeing it change people's lives in a real tangible way, this is when you start getting real word of mouth adoption, and people want to get involved, not just to try and build investment wealth, but to change their lives in a real impacting way. So that's really exciting. Thank you, Linda. Let's move on to a new topic. Let's talk about shaping the future of blockchain. That's what this Eco Fund is all about. So let's dig into some really good questions here. What's the next big thing in blockchain that's going to move the needle? We've seen DeFi, gaming, and NFTs. What's next? Tony, why don't you weigh in on this one? We haven't heard you talk yet.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a extension of the previous two questions regarding the future, right? And the mass adoption.
Absolutely.
Which is actually the question being asked 10 years ago when people say, hey, what will be the mass adoption of mobile, right? Now we are talking about blockchain. And the answer, the logic is quite similar because, you know, I've been through that the period. I think the Haseeb, Linda has been talking about this, I would say infrastructure, right? You know, if there's no 3G and there's no 4G, no 5G, there won't be any mobile ecosystem, right? So the infrastructure has to be, of course, fast, secure, and cheap, right? Enough so that the mass can actually start using it. Then on the regulatory social support, there must be some rules, right? So people can play in that around. So you need to have fiat on-ramping. You know, think about 20 years ago, there's no payment channel for if you want to buy apps on your mobile phone, there's no payment channel. You cannot even go to a bank to buy apps, right? So what do you do? That's why people are using SMS for charging, which is, you know, the whole logic to creating the first generation of internet company, right? So now we are talking about these similar things in crypto. Okay, what will be the future? When all these things, you know, happen, done in the next 6 months, what will be the future? I think the future belongs to the next generation, which is around them. Metaverse could be one, and I see DAO could be the next one, and maybe some others. You know, I call all these killer apps, right? You know, Facebook is a killer apps. I mean, Facebook is the future for the people 10 years ago, right? You know, WeChat is another example, right? Zoom is another example. So what are the killer apps that is really fits the future people's needs, the future people's requirements? I don't think it's a bank. Future people don't use bank anymore. They will ask for leisure from Santa, right? So, exactly.
Yeah.
Right? So the future will be, I'll say, you know, that's why we have been spending a lot of time trying to research the future people, younger generation. What do they need? You know, my kids are playing Roblox. They are, you know, doing all this kind of stuff on Discord. You know, so I think the future will be. I'll use one word to summarize. Would be metaverse. What metaverse is not? It's certainly not just gaming, of course, right? I think and DAO organization mechanism is how people will be organized and money to be organized in the future. I think that will be. I think that will be two themes. I think I'm pretty certain will be the next big thing in blockchain.
That's really exciting. Thank you, Tony. You're talking about a digital revolution with the way that we just behave in society with this metaverse. And I couldn't agree more that we're in for some big change that I don't think we can comprehend today. It's going to be the next generation that we teach to be as imaginative and creative as they can be, you know, much like the generation that we see today building these apps, PayPal, Uber, skip the dishes, all these things that we would have never assumed could be possible before the modern internet. So I couldn't agree more. Infrastructure, metaverse, thank you so much for that. As an investor, what type of blockchain projects are you looking to invest in? What are some of the criteria you consider before investing in a team or project?
For this question, I think all the VCs here should respond.
I think so too. You're all
Yeah.
investors. Everyone wants to know what your criteria are. And after this, we'll talk about green flags and more importantly, red flags after.
I can
Take
go
notes,
first.
everyone. This is,
Yeah, I'd
this
say
is a note-taking session right here.
so. Generally speaking, there are three different kinds of investors. There's three different kind of important dimensions of when you're looking at an investment opportunity in an early stage team. The first is people, the second is product, and the third is market. And different investors prioritize a different part of this triangle, right? So there's some people who are like, look, I'll invest in great products. If the product is good enough, I'm just going to write a check, and I don't worry too much about whether the market's hot or whether the people are exactly who I want them to be. Some people are like, look, it's all about people. I'm going to bet on people, and that's ultimately what's going to result in, they'll figure out the right product, they'll figure out the right market. And then market is basically saying, look, this thing is hot, I'm just going to bet on it, and like it'll figure itself out, because if the market's growing fast enough, we'll make money, and different investors take different strategies. And I'd say for our side, we probably skew, I'd say somewhere between, call it team and product. That's usually where we sit, in that we want to find great teams and we want to find great ideas that are excellently executed. And that's mostly what we bet on. And, I think especially in crypto, markets change so fast. Like, NFTs were just a nothing. They were a zero until suddenly they were the huge, completely overtook the market. DeFi was like a tiny little experiment that people were playing around with until suddenly, last summer it became absolutely enormous, and it became the biggest narrative in crypto for, a good 6 months. And that's kind of the nature of crypto, which is why for us, we mostly look for great, really focused people who are trying to tackle a problem with excellent execution.
Thanks, Haseeb. Good to know you don't use a dartboard.
Well, the last step is a dartboard, right? First we talk to you, then we write a memo,
Yeah.
then I've
The
got
spinning
a dartboard
wheel,
right behind my desk.
the dartboard,
exactly.
The spinning
the
wheel
last
is for
step.
how much you invest, right? That's
exactly
the amount you
exactly.
invest.
So is the really important in crypto is to be lucky, and that's what the dartboard helps with. Only get lucky founders that way.
That's fantastic. That's the unicorn thesis right there. What about you, Andy, Tony? Which one can go first? Go ahead, Andy.
I can go ahead. I'd say one thing I think both Haseeb, Tony, and I have shared is our joint vision in supporting Oasis. And if you use that as an example, and again, borrowing Haseeb's famous triangle, this is going to be the new, Harvard Harvard Business School case study now. Those three. So for our shop, we focus more on the market and the people. Not to say we don't look at the product. We oftentimes kind of look for a big market and say that is where we want to be, and then find the best people to then help us navigate. Because inevitably, as venture investors, we're making a 10-year bet, right? So directionally, we know some big things are happening in 10 years. But we're typically not as good as predicting what will happen in a year or 2 years. So we need to find a good captain who could then help us sort of right the ship along the way. So for instance, Haseeb mentioned DeFi that really started with this little thing, and now everybody knows DeFi. But you probably all remember it used to be called yield farming.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So this product really evolved so quickly, we even forgot, right? But it's only been DeFi for less than a year, and this is a $1 billion industry. So really, what we try to do is to not to really focus on those two elements. Look at a big market and a captain who we think, and typically a captain is a group of people, right? It's a group of co-founders, and we generally like to have more than one, because then you could have a discussion, the idea of a partnership, and you bring the best out of people. And we also have a philosophy of entrepreneurs. We like strong-minded entrepreneurs. We don't like to tell them what to do. So we like folks who could just sort of charge forward and then ping us when they need help. But prefer us to leave them alone. So we also kind of, there's a self-selection, right? We like to have this model of being the crazy uncle. So the crazy uncle naturally gravitates towards the crazy nephews or the nieces, if you will. So those are the people we're looking for.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it's really nice to see the different approach, although similar, very different tactical approach to better suit your VC. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much. And Tony, why don't you go ahead and share a little bit about your opinion? Yeah,
sure. I agree with Andy and Haseeb. I think I will share from another perspective. I used to do large buyouts of banks, and now I'm doing crypto stuff, which is early stage. And how they are different, right? I mean, in terms of criteria, investment strategy, they're very different. And how? I think the industry structure is different, and that is way of investment is different, right? When you do a large buyout, you own a bank, you're looking for efficiency, right? You need to improve your numbers, bit by bit. So efficiency, team execution, and it's a stagnant industry, so you have to compete better with others. Right, so that's a formula to win, which is I call alpha, right? And in crypto, there's no alpha. I mean, everyone is beta, right? As long as you're in this industry, even you're doing project A, if you failed, you do project A plus, you can succeed, which is we have seen happen, right? Many times in the last 12 months. Times. A lot of DeFi projects drop 99% of value, then increase now 100 times. Right. Yep. So as I think the industry structure is different for crypto and many other industries. So the investment strategy is different as well. That is why we are looking at long term. We are trying to capture the beta of the industry, right? Stay with the team. Even if they will help you, we go for project 2. Now we use DeFi 1.0. Now it's DeFi 2.0, right? If you feel it's okay, we can go for DeFi 3.0. Right. So I think find the right team and stay long term, and then for the next 5 years, wait for the industry to become a huge industry, to become competitive. Then we go for alpha, right? We go for efficiency, we go for professionalism. I think that will be the future. For now, we just need to find the best teams, the most experienced teams, and just be patient with them. I think that's the one-liner, I would say.
That's fantastic. Well, everyone, if you follow NGC Ventures, you heard it from them. Look for long-term investments with them. If you see their name on it, they're going long. So thank you so much, Tony. Really appreciate that. Let's move forward to some more questions. This is actually one of the most exciting ones. I really want to know this. What do you guys consider a green flag, and more importantly, a red flag when you're considering an investment? And just even your top 3, like green flags, and then more importantly, the red flags. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay, I can go. I don't have anything off the top of my head. So red flags, I would say red flags probably is if the entire team is non-technical. That tends to be a red flag. So usually you need somebody who actually understands and can build the technology. The kind of teams where it's like, okay, it's like 2 business people and they're like, yeah, we'll hire some contractors who will like build the protocol for us. That's usually a pretty big red flag. Second red flag, I guess, if they don't really have a background in blockchain, so if they haven't been in the space, they just kind of showed up and they're ready to raise money, that's usually a pretty big red flag, because it tends to look like they're kind of just trying to do a money grab. They're trying to just do a get rich quick thing.
We saw a lot of that in 2017.
Yeah, it shows up every bull cycle. So it's we get a good amount of those. And then I'd say in general, I guess the last thing is like no vesting or like very short vesting tends to be a big red flag. So if somebody is creating a project and everyone's fully liquid in 6 months, that's usually not a recipe for long-term sustainability for a project.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, I agree. The token metrics very important.
Yeah, exactly. Green flags, which I assume means like really good things that we like to see.
Yeah. What are some pros here? What are some like take my money moments?
Yeah, take my money stuff. I guess like if you've built something, it's already live. That's a huge green flag. Like it almost never happens. And so if you've built the product, amazing. Like that's you've gotten like you're already 90th percentile. Another green flag, I guess, if if you're building something that's genuinely new, like an absolutely new category that like, we haven't thought of before, that I love to see that. Like anytime that I see that, I'm amazed, and usually I want to invest. Third green flag, what is the third green flag? I don't know. Come back to me. I'm going to skip the third.
Sounds good.
I'll give other
Tony,
guys
Andy,
a chance to talk.
Linda,
I was gonna say I slightly feel bad have Haseeb out there, doing this real time.
You guys didn't speak up. Come on.
Yeah,
You're just sitting there silent. What am I
group
gonna do? I gotta
discussion.
come and save you guys.
So Tony and I have some time to think about it. Now I got this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
So some red flags. So this is general venture. So we look at blockchain and others, right? In blockchain, this is also applicable to blockchain. People who haven't quit their job and they're doing this part-time. It's not that it's not good, right? So I always look at signaling. If you're not willing to sort of go all in, why am I putting my money in? Because we're minority shareholders. I typically would like to see some signal someone's going all in. And quitting your job is one of those signals to me, like, oh yeah, this person's going all in. And I also want to give out some shout outs to our chats here. I'm basically picking up ideas. So for instance, anonymous teams, I find it really funny because in traditional venture, I started venture 20 years ago. We used to have a secret sort of recipe. I would go to AT&T Bell Labs and I would just bag those PhDs in optics projects, and you have a winner, because the worst case is that Cisco would just buy you for a lot of money, and the best case is that something works, this thing goes IPO, right? And so you sort of go from that to blockchain projects where forget AT&T, Bell Labs, and forget Ivies. I feel like some of our best entrepreneurs maybe haven't even graduated, college, right?
Yeah.
so maybe it didn't matter. But then, so you just sort of go from that to cartoon characters on white papers. You're investing in. So yes, so I agree. I think we would like to see real people with real credentials and backing real human. And every bull market, we along with others sort of start relaxing our standards, right? But we try really hard not to. And I think it's good to stay disciplined. Going back to Haseeb's, triangle, those three things on people, it really comes down to that. And then the other shout out to the chat, token economics. I feel like in the bear market, I would invest in equity. In the bull market, I'll be forced to invest token. And then sometimes I'll be jumping on the wrong side. If I had, equity and then they start shooting tokens, I don't have any tokens. Or if I got tokens and they start raising equity. So I think a green flag here is a founder and the team come to us and say, we're partners, right? I'm not going to try to game you with having you pick which value system. I feel like that's just like going to Vegas. So it's about alignment. If you could figure out economic system. So right now we invest in equity plus token warrants, right? So I would like to see that kind of structure where it really doesn't matter where the project goes, right? If you don't ever issue tokens, I'm okay with it. If you do issue tokens, I get my fair share because I'm taking a risk. And I also like to, since we have a community here, to sort of share with everyone, we along with our, our investors community, this is our job. Our job is to, create a return on investment, right? So for us, we just want to make sure we're in the right value system, just like you guys. If it's token, we'll get our fair share. And it's very important that everything is very transparent, both to us and to the community.
That's fantastic. So I'm hearing a lot of conviction, commitment, credibility. That's really great. Thank you so much. And Tony, what about yourself? What are some green flags, some red flags?
Yeah, I'll just give two green flags and two red. Okay.
Sounds
I
good.
think the green is rather simple. Either you are doing a new stuff, or you are a very experienced team. And the fact is, a lot of serial entrepreneurs is the preferred team we are going to invest. And the fact is, half of our best deals coming from the existing deals, right? Through referral, through spin-off, or through, from that ecosystem. So serial entrepreneurs is definitely, the top hit we're going for. If you are not, it's fine, but you got to have a very new product, new ideas. Even if you feel it's fine, we're supporting you. But we don't like, I'm kind of the copycat, right? This kind of stuff on another chair. So I think that's not good. I think those are the two green flags. The red flags. Number one is that if the team is too confident, too arrogant, the word is says, I know everything. Don't worry. Just put your money with me. Then I will just do it. I don't trust
too good to be true.
Exactly, too good to be true. The industry is changing so fast. No one have the answer. That is why we're having this panel today, right? So how can you say you know everything, right? So I think it's I think that's exactly said. He doesn't know much about the business, right? Now, another aspect is that too techy. A fantastic coder, too techy. Don't respect the community. Don't respect the investor, and just think the technology is everything. I don't think that's true as well, right? I think those are the two big red flags for us.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
I want to actually add a little bit on
yeah,
top
elaborate.
of what Andy and Tony were talking about, particularly about people. What we find is that in crypto, there's kind of two poles of the kinds of founders who can be really successful. So one kind of founder that can be really successful is the sort of traditional kind of Silicon Valley blue chip founder that, like, they've had an exit, or they worked in traditional industry, they've been really successful, and they're coming into crypto and they're going to go do big things, right? So that's one category of founder, and there's some founders like that who've been very successful. Take like Robert from Compound, who was previously an entrepreneur and worked in Silicon Valley. There's some of the folks who've like the Brian Armstrong from Coinbase. Those types, they can be very successful. But then there's the other kind of founder, which is the kind of founder who we generally call them the pirate founder, where they could only ever be successful in crypto. There's no other industry where they would ever be able to be investable. And they're very weird. They tend to be pretty mean and cantankerous. They get into Twitter fights all the time. They're the kind of people who you would not think of as running a company. But almost all of the really amazing protocols in crypto were built by people like that, right? Like Satoshi was like that. Vitalik is like that. They're just like crazy people who live online, and they only would ever be investable through crypto. And a lot of really important and amazing things have been built by people like that. And so you have to be able to think about people who are sort of traditional Silicon Valley backable type founders on one side, and then the crypto native founders on the other side. And sometimes, look at Andre Cronje or the SushiSwap people. Like, they've built incredible dynasties in crypto without anybody knowing who they are. And of course, all of crypto started with somebody who Silicon Valley would never have backed, because we don't know who they really are. We don't know who Satoshi is, but he was the person who he or she or they are the people who actually invented Bitcoin. And so I think as a VC, that's something that we think about all the time is, there's not one standard with which you look at a founder. There are very different kinds of founders who come to this industry. And that's the thing that's amazing about crypto, is that so many different kinds of people can succeed. And that's to say nothing of, what's going on now with NFTs and gaming, which enable a totally different kind of person to build, really amazing things that, you'd never imagine. These artists who are just, kind of random people with some artistic skill who, were able to make tens of millions of dollars off their creations. So that, I think, is what makes crypto really unique as an investor.
Yeah, I think
Absolutely.
that has to be. I think you said so well. I think one takeaway I get from what you guys have shared is how hard it is and challenging it to be a successful crypto VC. It's just like to be continuously making money, making real good return here. First, you have to stay very disciplined. You have to have a framework, but at the same time, you have to be very open-minded. Because there's all kinds of outliers that you think just like not investable, but somehow become very successful. Just like stay very disciplined and stay open-minded. It's just like you constantly kind of in this battle, like how do you convince yourself, oh, this is going to be that one. But, it's kind of outside my framework. What do I do? But, just like speaks to like how challenging it is and how amazing you guys are. Just like,
Well, to be clear, we get it wrong all the time, right? I think I can speak for all three of us, is that we have all collectively passed on tens of billions of dollars of value just by having dumb heuristics. Sorry, it looks like Andy. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Haseeb, what hurts more? For me, it hurts more for a false negative and a false positive. In other words, if I make the wrong decision, lose money, right? That hurts. Don't get me wrong, that hurts. But it hurts even more if I make a wrong decision, passing on a great opportunity. Right? That for me is the early stage. But oftentimes that's not obvious to people not from our industry. Right?
That's right.
Making a mistake like that, it's
yeah. I think it was a Vichel from Electric who told me once, which a phrase I really like. Being a venture capitalist always sucks because when you miss something, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed it. It hurts so much. And when you're right and you have a great investment, you're like, crap, I don't own enough. So you're never happy. You're always unhappy with your portfolio, no matter what.
Loss aversion is a real thing, right? Like
That's right.
You just can't seem to win. Either you made the wrong bet or you made the right bet and it wasn't enough. That's
right.
That's fantastic.
So basically, Haseeb is saying that we don't own enough rows. We need more.
Yes,
right.
yes, right.
That's
You're kicking yourself
right.
after the last.
Well, hey, if we stick around to the end, maybe we can fix that.
That's true. That's true. Well, let's bring this back into a collaborative question here. You're all partners of the Ecosystem Fund. What kind of dApps or use cases are you looking forward to being built on the Oasis network? And if you had a crystal ball, what do you foresee being that one big thing being built on Oasis in the next year or two?
I would like to go ahead, Tony.
Yeah, and actually, I don't really have an answer because, why is that? Because even either NFT is the biggest success, and the founder didn't even know that could be a success. It's just coming from nowhere. It's driven by community, right? So I think the logic is probably still follow the community or where it's getting hot, what things are happening, and that is might be the the next big thing. Let's say on Oasis, there will be some niche that is different from other chains, which I believe Oasis do offer. So given a wild guess, I think simply I just pick two directions, right? Number one is you're just doing the same thing much faster, much cheaper, much better than our competitors, right? And because the whole industry is growing, as long as we are doing our job, we have a share of the market, and the market is growing, so our price growing. So I think simple as that. So I will encourage, developers on many other chains, just do the same on Oasis, and you can offer better user experiences. So why not, right? Just come, right? Then
it's so true.
Exactly. On the other aspect, because I think Oasis offer a paradigm, this architecture, which is separation of consensus and computation, which is I think that's very different from others. Another aspect which is different from the last one was on the privacy part, right? And corporate application and regulation, because privacy is just a way to master data in a more I'll say structured way, right? If you can manage it more more structured way, you can do many scenarios, which is not available on a transparent or public chain. So I think there will be a lot of I'll say a lot of applications in those areas in the traditional world to make people's life better. So what are them? What are the kid apps? Yeah. So I don't know. Probably Andy Haseeb, you can give me some ideas.
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that, because I say all the time that it's the Wild West right now in terms of a land grab on the Oasis platform. I mean, you have the opportunity to come over as a developer, port over other projects that exist on other chains, and just have the opportunity of being the first on Oasis. So I agree with you on that. And the second point that you're talking about is unlocking the unique architecture that Oasis provides. I mean, this is something that we will see highlighted more and more as more paradigms come onto our network, as the scalability grows, as other paradigms are able to access the unique benefits of other paradigms. You're going to start seeing Oasis network shine in this unique way. So thank you for highlighting that, Tony. Andy, Haseeb, do you have any input on what you kind of foresee in the future? And if you had a crystal ball, what's that big thing coming?
I like to pick up on what Tony and Haseeb were talking about, and that is finding existing applications, but yet addressing that privacy issue that's so important. Haseeb mentioned there are these enterprise grade financial applications we all enjoy as consumers, right?
Correct,
and
yeah.
the privacy that we enjoy and assume, unfortunately, doesn't quite exist in the crypto land yet, right?
Right.
So I think if you look at Oasis, there are a lot of applications out there. If we look at what's unique about the chain, it's the scalability, it's the privacy, and as importantly, it's the versatility, right? The ability to bring on mainstream centralized financial institutions, developers to come and develop on these chains. I think that could be really interesting. One of the biggest challenges, a lot of the applications I see are just not consumer ready yet, right?
Right.
So if we could make the interface so it's easy for retail use, but at the same time bring in some of these privacy features that the retail enjoy in the traditional finance, and yet this is done at the enterprise grade that the centralized financial institutions have. So we basically have the best of both worlds, and there is an opportunity to start fresh from the Oasis architecture.
Absolutely. And we are poised as one of the most reputable, credible blockchains in the ecosystem that can really break down those barriers with enterprise companies. You've seen it now with Facebook, now Meta, BMW, and several other Fortune 500 companies. These are conversations that we're able to have with them due to our GDPR compliancy, the ability to unlock data in a way where you're not keeping it private, but you're allowing for data sets and queries to be run on this data without governments not having access to unique information that they do need, but then at the same time, the consumer has the opportunity for their data to be private in a unique way as well. So you're going to start seeing a lot more bridging with enterprise, and I do feel that we are one of the layer ones that are poised to do that. So it's very exciting. Haseeb, what about yourself?
Yeah,
what do you think the big thing coming is?
Well, I sat here thinking about my answer while I was hearing the other two gentlemen answer, and didn't really think of that much. So I don't have a great grandiose answer to give you about what the next killer app is. I guess the one thing that I will say is that I think that there's clearly a lot to be done to build out the DeFi ecosystem on Oasis.
Yep.
And I think that obviously that's kind of a step one, right? It's sort of, you need that in order to have other things that can be built on top of it. But I don't think Oasis is going to come into its own just by basically getting to parity with another chain. Right. So the way that I sort of think about it is that, today Ethereum is Manhattan. It's this really, really expensive city where congestion is super high. Everything is like crazy. The rent is crazy. Nobody who's like just coming to America can afford to live there. And it's great. Like there's really valuable things there, but it's not, we all can't go move there, unless we can afford the crazy, crazy rent. And so Oasis is this new city that's coming up and trying to find its own identity. And it has very different properties because it's just in a different geography. It has different features around it in the way that it can be built. And in order to build a city, okay, you need to have a police station and schools, and you need to have a McDonald's and a laundromat. And so, okay, you need to build that stuff. So we need to have some basic DeFi infrastructure, and that's important in order to get Oasis up and off the ground. But the thing that's going to make Oasis really shine and come into its own and become an LA or a Chicago or like a really amazing city with its own identity is to find something that it does differently. And a lot of the time, I think, DeFi is a good example of this, right? So when DeFi first started really getting kicked off in like 2016, 2017, when MakerDAO first started, and then there was Bancor, and then there was DYDX, and these things in the very early days. They all mostly look like toys, right? It was like kind of a cool idea, but they were like pretty dumb. Like no one was using them. Trading volume was tiny. It was mostly just to trade these like really crappy coins that no one gave a crap about. And almost always when something becomes really, really big and turns into this huge behemoth of new innovation, it starts as a toy, it starts looking like something that nobody's going to take seriously, but it's just a cool idea in someone's head that someone wants to play around with. And so if you have a cool idea of something you want to play around with, and you have no idea how it's going to be valuable or who's going to want it or why it's going to solve this big 100,000, this big, $100 million problem, like that's okay. Go figure out how to build it, launch it on something and see what comes. Like that's how DeFi started. That's how NFTs took off. Like all this stuff comes from people wanting to tap into their own creativity. And whatever it is that ends up catapulting Oasis to becoming this kind of titan of innovation will come from people playing around and figuring out something that nobody has tried before. And so that's where I suspect the next big thing will come. It will come from something that, the five of us sitting on a panel are not going to be able to anticipate. And that's precisely why it's going to be so valuable.
That's incredible.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you so much, guys, for sharing. Like, I always have been thinking a lot about these questions. Like, what's our identity exactly? Like, that's why I thought we have this unique architecture. Like, we don't know, so that's why we have all this decentralized network. Anyone can build a paradigm on a network that suits their own computing needs. So we have this Emerald, which is built by Oasis, that we know how big this Solidity developer market, this developer base is, and we know how much they want. Just like build a very simple EVM Solidity-based DeFi NFT dApp and then easily build on Oasis. That's how we have Emerald. And we have Cypher, which is WebAssembly-based Rust, which has computational compute, because we know there's going to be, we realize a huge problem with MEV. And the only way, one of the few ways to solve MEV problem is to bring computational compute into that. So you don't have this miners taking advantage of you, front running you before you do any sort of like trades. And that is, where we think where allows you always to be very unique, not just to cater to the market, what market wants, a Solidity or something like that, allow us to kind of like start pioneer a new move around like private DeFi, even private NFT. If you think about it, it's like when we talk about NFT these days, like I think it needs to go way beyond just I'm buying a very nice picture that could be in JPEG or something, and I change my Twitter profile picture or Telegram profile picture so everyone knows I have a status, that I pay this much money, I earn the status. You need to go a little bit beyond that in the sense that it could be in the form of membership. I'm a membership of this some sort of services, but that there's data attached to it. But do I really want my data to be out there, like how much I'm using the service or something? And like I'm the gold membership of some services, but do I really want to share this with everyone out there, let them know how much I share? Probably not. So that requires a lot of like kind of like privacy, embedded into it. So like, that part is taken care of privacy wise, but I can still like, let people know that I have this kind of status. That's where private NFT, come into play. So all of these, I think is like, we're the layer one network. Our job is not really, to be honest, our job is not to really build applications. Our job is to provide the best infrastructure. So we have amazing founders, entrepreneurs, to build the next wave to, it can be funky, it can be weird at the very beginning. As you mentioned that, no one really understands what that really is, but eventually, as they continue to cultivate, build a community around it, it's going to be something really cool. So yeah, so I think, so just to circle back to the question we're just discussing here is like, the industry is moving so fast, like no one really knows what's going to happen next. We just have to, as a layer one network, we just have to make sure that we're very attentive to developer needs, make sure we have the best infrastructure to allow them to move fast, to build things fast, and to iterate fast, and let them figure out what's going to be next killer apps.
Thanks, Linda. Great feedback, everyone. I'm actually surprised no one brought up gambling in any capacity here with privacy or, differential privacy, computation, all this stuff, like the first trustless, decentralized casino on chain, like all these good hot topic words. Maybe we'll see something there.
Since when has anybody in crypto gambled? I've never heard of that.
It's just a secret.
Wrong
Maybe
audience,
because
wrong audience.
Nobody wants their information public, right? But we'll see. We'll see. It was a very early use case with the gaming SDK using differential privacy for some of those games. Poker being one of them. I mean, what a great use case this could be for poker. So if there's any, I know Haseeb, that might interest you. We'll talk about that later. My little secret poker dApp that I'd love to build. But yeah, we'll take that offline. But thank you very much, everyone, to all our panelists for taking the time this evening to have a conversation. I'd love to open up the Q&A portion of our evening. And we've also got our 5,000 Rose token giveaway. I'm dropping that right now. This is our Ecosystem Fund webinar airdrop. So please stay tuned. I'll drop the entry form for you guys. This is an Easter egg giveaway. We weren't advertising this, so we just want to reward everyone for showing up. So thank you very much.
Cool. So
Yeah,
what
you're
are
very
the
welcome.
Q&As we got from the community?
Yeah, we've got 47 questions.
I don't think we have time for all that, but let's pick the maybe 2 or something.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, that is. Are we hiring? We have a jobs page. I'll just throw that out there really quickly. We've got a few roles open. Thank you very much. Let's see here. How is Oasis DeFi different from Solana, Avalanche, Cardano, other DeFi systems? What are the team's plans to be competitive in the current market?
Cool. I think I probably need to answer that.
Yeah,
That's like a Linda question.
That's a Linda question.
Get it wrong.
Yeah, let's just open up to Linda. Let's just open the floor.
Thank you, gentlemen, for giving me the chance to answer why Oasis. Yeah, so I think we kind of like all the partners here briefly mentioned as well, like, you know, what is Oasis exactly? So I think, yeah, so I think the reason we have all these paradigms is to be able to cater to different needs. So the Emerald is EVM compatible, and that one, you know, we just want to cater to people, Solidity developers, and to allow them to port Solidity-based, EVM-based DeFi quickly onto Oasis, because this is kind of like a new territory for them, and yeah, so they would be able to enjoy the big community Oasis, you know, can offer. And I think areas that allow Oasis to shine, to kind of differentiate from Avalanche, Solana, is the private DeFi, private NFT that we're just talking about here, like to actually, you know, allow this whole industry to tap into some of the traditional, traditional part markets. Like I think I was looking at some statistics earlier, like, you know, I think in DeFi, where right now our TVL, the whole industry TVL wise is approaching like 300 billion or something. But if you look at traditional finance, like think about like the assets in the traditional finance, that's like, you know, hundreds trillions. That's just like a super, like that. This is even like less than 0.1% market share DeFi has tapped into. But does that mean that, oh, let's just wait, DeFi eventually will get to hundreds, you know, trillion size? Of course not. There's like the you know, hurdles that we're talking about earlier, like, you know, the fact that every trade is transparent, the fact that miners will be able to take advantage of your trade, to be able to front run you, and that just like, that's a big no-no to those traditional traders out there. So I think through private DeFi, that allows us to help the market to grow a lot bigger. And the private NFT is, you know, just like things that we're talking about earlier, is that I think the NFT definitely needs to go beyond sharing interesting pictures on Twitter. It needs to, you know, there's going to be data embedded behind that JPEG that you saw. It's going to be your personal data, how you interact with certain services. So that privacy need will have a huge play in there, and that's Oasis bread and butter. So I hope I answered that question.
Thanks, Linda. Great job. I'm just going through the questions here, trying to pick out some good ones. We've got a good one from Marcelo here. He's asking, you know, 160 million is a lot of money for technical projects. How are these funds going to be prioritized and used within the Oasis Ecosystem Fund? Maybe I can better word that question. How to prioritize the use of these funds in what really matters to the Oasis network?
This is a decentralized approach. So it sounds like each one of us could talk about how we plan to invest. And that would make
exactly.
sense.
I think you three should all take this question.
Thank
you.
So I'll say from our perspective, you know, we back the best projects in blockchain. In this case, we just happen to get to know Oasis really well and realize this is such a great opportunity. This will be like, you know, cell phones used to run on Symbian, operating system, and suddenly you have the iOS coming out or Android. And back in those days, you actually had funds that were dedicated to fund iOS or Android projects. So in our sort of investment thesis, we're basically thinking, well, you have this awesome operating system that's rolling out. There could be really interesting projects. We're going to keep our eyes peeled to look for these projects. We don't quite know what they are yet, but we certainly are sort of looking at the market, the people, and the product, like Haseeb was talking about. And that's how we would deploy the money investing in the Oasis platform.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, I can say from our perspective, in terms of what we'd prioritize, I think it's really, it kind of goes in two phases. Like, first off, you want to prioritize the building out of infrastructure. And then second, you want to incentivize the build out of applications. And there does need to be, in some sense, a certain order to it. So you can't really build out a lot of applications until you have, it's kind of like the city analogy I was using earlier, where, if somebody wants to build like a, I don't know, a cool bowling alley, right? Like, you can't have a bowling alley be the first building in a new town. Like, you kind of need to have some of the infrastructure be there in place. And so what I'd love to see early on is some of the DeFi infrastructure that really needs to exist in Oasis to kind of bootstrap the kind of core mechanics of a DeFi ecosystem. And then on top of that, you can start to build more and more primitives, things like NFTs, something like a metaverse type game can't really exist without having some DeFi primitives with which to trade and to interact with the assets that actually exist within that metaverse ecosystem. And so that's kind of how I see the prioritization of assets that would be investing through the ecosystem fund.
Fantastic. Thanks, Haseeb.
Yeah, right.
And
I
Tony.
think I agree with Andy and Haseeb. That's the focus areas. And in addition to that, the things that can only be done on Oasis is something we are very interested in. One example could be, as I said, this trustless credit scoring. This is a lending business, which is huge business. But basically, we are challenging the banks, right? We are challenging the NBFIs. We are challenging the existing financial legacy system. Can that be done on other chains? Without privacy, probably it's not easy. But in this case, we could have a try. So I think that is one example. And how about other things like, as Linda said, privacy-based DAO structure, right? You want to do something, but you don't want people to know that it's you doing. It's all these political governance issues which link to human nature. Yeah. So I think that could be another interesting case. And as you said, gambling, betting, that's human nature as well, right? Where would there be another interesting user experiences created, which is not available, not possible, to be built either on AWS or on other chains. So these are the new user, use cases, use scenarios, and and tokenized data is another area, right? So how can you make value out of your data, which is has been discussed many times by many people, but I haven't seen anyone doing that so far, right? Can anyone do that actually on Oasis and making sense of Facebook's user data? So how much one Facebook user is worth? I don't have that answer. Probably that their value can be extracted out of your data, Oasis, and that's creating a whole new different markets, right? Yeah, I think all these are blue ocean areas, which is as a community together, we are challenging the status quo from Wall Street. So I think that's something pretty exciting.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Tony. I really appreciate that. We've got a few questions in here about grants and the process about the grants themselves. We do have a page on our website that you can apply for grants through. I'll give a shout out to our ambassador program as well for the community members that want to get more involved. We have our active ambassador program as well. Go to our website and apply through that as well. I'm going to drop the link as well. And Linda, if you have any final comments, or if you see any questions that you'd love to bring in. A lot of these we covered with that last response.
I think, all the questions, I think overall we just had a kind of like very intellectual stimulating conversation. This is really helpful to me as a crypto hobbyist and enthusiast, and also I think to the overall community. I think they're very much looking forward to hearing those answers as to what kind of founders you're looking for, what kind of entrepreneur that you're looking for. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about building something always, but they're just not sure whether they're ready yet to raise, to do fundraising, when they can be ready. I think those red flag, green flags kind of like very helpful. Like I think a lot, maybe like their party currently is still very much a solo founder, and hearing your thoughts on some of the team traits you're looking for, they're all probably need to partner with another co-founder so I can bounce ideas off. So it's like, not just me going through this very exciting time myself. So yeah, so I think overall, I think we had a very exciting conversation. I just realized one thing, that I don't think we ever did our intro of our partners at the very beginning. Yeah, like I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think like Haseeb, Andy, or Tony getting confused like themselves,
You're so
or like
right.
which fund they were from. So I think that's probably still very confusing to our community.
I think we're all so well known.
We're so far into this. Okay, well, let's get to know our panelists.
I love this like reverse panel where we do the intros at the end and we sign off. This is awesome.
We do things
we should do
right
this more often.
Efficiency, what people want to know, and then you get to know the person. That's
right.
Okay, please.
Yeah, let's give everyone a quick.
Tell us briefly about your personal story on how you entered into the blockchain space and what it is that fascinates you about it. Let's just.
Why don't we do a shorter version of this? I'm sure at this point people are tired of hearing us.
Yeah, because each of you could talk for an hour, and everybody should know who you are. And if people don't know, quickly Google these guys. All three of these guys can talk to you for an hour about their story. They're incredible. So really, thank you for taking the time today to spend with us and the community.
Who's going first? Linda, I feel like
you go. Yeah,
okay,
Linda,
I'll make a very brief version. I'm sure a lot of people already know me on Slack and Telegram. So I'm Linda, I'm head of ecosystem at Oasis. Very excited to be here with you guys, and I'm very excited having a very interesting discussion with our amazing partners here, and looking forward to seeing more interesting, innovative applications built on Oasis. Thank you, guys.
Andy, you want to go?
Sure. My name is Andy Tang. I'm a partner at DraperDragon Digital Asset Fund and a partner at Draper Associates Venture Fund.
I'm Haseeb. I'm managing partner at Dragonfly Capital. I used to be a professional poker player, as John alluded to very briefly. Then I became an engineer, and then I got into the crypto investing side. So I've got a lot of different angles that I bring to crypto.
My joke would have made a lot more sense if you had done.
Yeah, exactly. We never explained to anybody
Nobody
that
even
had the background.
That
so
up.
just like, oh, okay, sure.
We're not telling inside jokes. That was meant to be out there, and
we just thought you were an unprofessional gambler. Now we know you're
I'm a gambling addict.
I'm professional in other ways. The gambling is the part of me that's most professional.
I work at Oasis to support my gambling addiction. That's
right. That's right.
Thank you so much, guys, and for the community. I don't have a gambling addiction, but thank you so much, you guys, for taking the time today. I really.
Oh, wait, Tony, we forgot Tony.
We forgot Tony.
Oh my goodness, Tony.
No, I was fascinated with this gambling history you guys all have. Yeah, I was,
it's a problem. It's a problem.
In the wrong room. Yeah. Yeah. So hi everyone. I'm Tony. I'm the founding partner of NGC Ventures. I used to be a banker, which is probably worse than a gambler. Yeah, I used to be a banker. Then branching into this crypto because I see what's kind of inefficiency and legacy problem all these banking systems have, and how difficult it is to creating trust among different entities. Even worse when they cross border. Or even worse when it's beyond this. SMEs, small business and large business, which has been running for the last couple 100 years. Not efficient, but we can do nothing about it, right? Until this blockchain happens, and I just love this. Yeah.
Thanks, Tony. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Just looking over the questions for all of our guests, I've dropped the link in our Zoom chat here I'll try to head over to Facebook and YouTube, and we'll drop it there as well. Meredith, if you don't mind helping me with that. Some of these questions for the community asking if we're going to answer some more questions. A lot of these questions we actually covered in this discussion. You know, what do you see the project like in 2 years? Talking about grants, a lot of partnership questions, and I can't discuss those. So my apologies for not being able to dig into some of the contractual obligations of our NDAs. Is there anything anyone else sees that they'd love to take? I know that we're right about at time, and so not only did we start on time, we're ending on time. So this is just unheard of for a panel talk.
Yeah, this is also unheard of, having 360 participants. I mean, this is more than my Twitter followers. So then I realized you guys are doing an airdrop. That's why.
We didn't tell anybody.
No, they just Andy. They showed up for you. What are you talking about?
That's why we didn't tell anyone about the airdrop, because we don't like to.
Airdrop participants, please follow Andy to get tokens.
Andy, Tony, Haseeb.
Yeah, don't worry. We're going to double your follower count by the end of the stream.
You just got to tweet some Easter eggs on what you're thinking about investing in. You'll have a million followers in no time.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Great.
Amazing.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. This was great.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
This is great.
We should do this again very soon.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Well, someone said we should do this
More.
every month.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
With updates from the
Take
Eco
care,
Fund.
everyone.
Thanks, guys. Have a
right.
fantastic day. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. I'll continue to post the link, and please fill it out. We'd love to reward someone special. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
All
everyone.
right.
Take care.
Take
Take
care,
care, guys.
everybody.
Evening and good morning to people in Asia.
Yes.
No,
Good
nice
evening,
day.
good morning, and good night.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.